Welcome everybody to the Pangea Health Podcast. I'm Dr. Bree and this is Dr. Andrew, as you all very well know. Today we are here to talk to you all about something we get asked about a ton here in the office, seasonal allergies. And actually just allergies across the board, but especially the seasonal kind. Something a lot of people struggle with here in Central Oregon, right?
Yeah, that's right. And it is February, so maybe you'll be watching this in March. Now is the time to actually have the conversation. Because if we wait till April or May when the seasonal allergies really take full effect in Central Oregon, my experience is that we've waited too long and now we're in a reactive headspace instead of a proactive headspace.
Totally. You're on the back foot at that point. There's so much that you can do to help prevent the flare-up of seasonal allergies and that inflammation response, but so much of it has to be done like months in advance, and most people don't realize that. So they start when the symptom starts, which is, kind of what we're here to talk about today is what should we do on the forefront so that we can prevent that symptom even coming up and
That's right.
hindering so much of what we try to do here in Central Oregon this spring, like activity and being outside, and it's just a suffer fest for so
Now's the
many.
time. It is a suffer fest, right? So I've lived in Central Oregon since 2012. And so many times I hear people say this, like, I moved here and I had no allergies for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And then all of a sudden, boom, it hits. And I think there's a reason behind that, but also just to like not telling any of the listeners something they don't know, but we live in the high desert. It's hot here, it's dry here, it's windy here. And this is an agricultural community, but it's also a juniper and pine region. So people who move here from out of town, oftentimes they've never been exposed to those allergens before. And then when they move here, it takes time because they're not keeping up with their nervous system and immune system. So over time, as the body starts creating these histamine responses to these environmental toxins or pollens, then it builds up and the body becomes sluggish, and then bang, it hits them and it knocks hard. I've experienced this myself. So our whole purpose for this conversation is to give you some tips and tricks. We've developed a Pangea protocol for this. It doesn't work for everybody, but it certainly gives you the foundational like puzzle pieces to put in play now in February, March, so that hopefully you can have relief this, pollen or allergy season.
Yeah, 100%. I think maybe a good place to start is kind of at the center of everything, which we talk about all the time as chiropractors, is the nervous system. Like Dr. Andrew hit on, living in the high desert, the seasonal changes around here happen so rapidly. And even back-to-back weeks, like it snowed this morning and now it's sunny and I don't know how warm it is, but it's completely blue skies out there. Just this rapid pivot of seasonal changes requires so much adaptability from the nervous system that if you're not in a place where your nervous system can pivot and change what's happening metabolically on the inside, like
Right.
day to day, then it's going to be caught in a sticky spot.
I mean, it's 90 degrees during the day and 40 at night.
Yeah, it's
Like your body has to be adaptable.
yeah. So what's our number one tool for adaptability when it comes to the nervous system?
It's chiropractic. And it's such a missing, it's like, for me, Dr. Bree, it's like baking bread and forgetting to put like the flour in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can do all these things. And trust me, I know because I don't go to Walgreens, but occasionally I'll need to like run in for a watch battery or something. If you go to Walgreens during, air quote allergy season, there's like no Claritin left.
Yeah.
And so I just stress to my patients and people in general, I'm like, if you're not supporting the system that controls and regulates your adaptability, you're really missing the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds so simple, but the average person, maybe even our listeners, like they have no concept of why I would ever go to a chiropractor for anything except back pain.
Totally. Everybody knows chiropractors help with neck pain and back pain, but most people don't know we're
Right.
really helping to decrease the interference in your nerve system, in your spine, so that your body can self-regulate. Because that's what it wants to do by default. Your body is insanely smart. And, we get caught in these traps of feeling guilty, almost like, oh, I have a weak immune system, or oh, I have a really susceptible body to allergies, because you look around and you're like, why am I getting hit so hard with
Yeah.
this? And
Why
my
me?
the guy I'm living with is completely in the same environment and he's fine, right? You're like, why me? So we almost have to look like internally, how can I boost that system? In chiropractic, it's easy for us on your podcast as chiropractors to go, chiropractic will help with your nervous system. But really, what's happening there is we all experience this thing called subluxation,
Yeah.
which is a word you've probably heard us say a lot before. It's essentially interference in your nerve system, sometimes from a bony misalignment of the spine. And if it affects the nerve flow that's supposed to be the communication source between your brain and your body, that communication gets cut off like a trip in a circuit. There's no way that that message is going to go fully to where it needs to go. And if the end organ doesn't understand its job, let's say that that's your sinuses, let's say that that's, the response of your body trying to process histamine. If it doesn't know what to do, then that pathway is going to be compromised. So by chiropractic, removing that subluxation and clearing interference from the nerve system, opening up that channel of nerve communication, now we've got firing on all full cylinders, connection between the brain and the body. It's just easier.
That's right. That's right. And I mean, so from a chiropractic perspective, getting adjusted regularly if you have subluxation, um, it helps with vagal tone. And I'm bringing this up because the vagus nerve and vagal tone has actually made its way to mainstream conversation after, 135 years of chiropractors talking about this.
Mhm.
So vagal tone, the word vagus means wanderer. So that's kind of a fun fact for
I
us
didn't know
there.
that.
Like,
I get
oh, Las
vagabonds.
Vegas. Yeah,
Yeah,
the word Vegas means wanderer.
interesting.
So the vagal nerve is a nerve that comes out of the top of the neck by the brainstem, and it wanders throughout the body. So the most critical place to make sure that your nerve system is clear from a chiropractic perspective is in the upper cervical, the top of the neck. And we know without a shadow of a doubt, and the research is mountains high, that a chiropractic adjustment, when performed and done correctly on someone who needs it, helps regulate vagal tone. And the vagus nerve wanders down through the neck and controls literally all the organs in the body, which is why, a gentle little tap or adjustment at the top of the neck can change everything neurologically and immunologically in the body.
Mhm.
And it almost is so simple that it confuses people. And that's the whole point, is that less is more. So it stimulates vagal tone. It also helps regulate histamine response. Your body generates histamine when there's a foreign invader. That's just the simplest way to state it. So if you breathe in a chemical, your body creates a histamine reaction and you cough and you get mucus. Same thing with allergies. But also, Dr. Bree, one of my favorite things is when someone comes into the office with a stuffy nose and we clear them out with a chiropractic adjustment and they sit up. And the look on their face is like, what just happened? Because when there's subluxation in the top of the neck, it dysregulates how the sinuses are working. And I just love it when people sit up and they go, oh my goodness, I can breathe for the first time in 3 weeks. It happens that fast.
Mhm. Mhm.
So those are just some of the pieces, some of the things that we experience in the chiropractic setting when it comes to allergies.
Yeah.
We'll give you a ton of fun tricks and things to watch out for on your own, but it just never ceases to amaze me how powerful the nervous system is. And keep in mind as you're listening that your nerve system controls your immune system. And when there's dysregulation of your nerve system, it alters your immune system. And when it alters your immune system, then you start to experience symptoms. And symptoms are always so far downstream. But trust me, I get it. They're the only thing that we're aware of.
Mhm.
Usually, if you're in tune with your body, by the time you feel a symptom, like what do we say at Pangea? Symptoms are
The last thing to show up,
us.
and usually the first thing to go away when you start actually addressing the root cause. You just got to work your way all the way upstream to whatever was causing that in the first place. I think about it like a row of dominoes, right? The original root cause tips that first domino. And if you're standing down here at the end of the line, the one that you see tip is the last one, right? And then if you were to try to erect that whole row of dominoes back up again, you're in charge of the first one and you work back upstream. It's a process, but that's why a comprehensive health care provider will always give you a plan and something that can measure progress.
That's right.
So our first number one tip is make sure you're getting adjusted in some kind of rhythm on a regular basis, because you don't want to be trying to start this when you're already in the middle of allergy season.
That's right.
All right.
Yes.
What else can we recommend, Dr. Andrew, for everyone to start doing now before the juniper starts blooming and all this in a couple of months?
So this is a tricky one because some people love this and some people hate this. Um, but nonetheless, you may be one of the people that absolutely this changes your life, which is a neti pot, or now the popular one is called Navage. This is a nasal irrigation system. All right. You're irrigating your nasal passage. So as the allergens and the pollens start to bloom in Central Oregon, they get trapped in your sinuses. And irrigating them through a neti pot or Navage helps. And you're basically pumping or dripping water and irrigating the area through the sinuses, and it's pulling out all the pollens. I say that some people don't like this because if you're someone who has like a deviated septum, or if you are so inflamed and then you do this, it doesn't really end up well for the person. Like, I tried that and it was awful.
Right.
But if you are doing this, it's really important to be preemptive with it. Start early before you're experiencing sinus or allergies. But it's really critical. The most important piece for this is to use distilled water. Don't use tap water.
And just pure water to be everything in it.
Pure water. You
Okay.
can put some salt in it, or some saline solution. But just for starters, pure distilled water, and warm it up a little bit so it's like lukewarm. No one wants to irrigate water through the sinuses. I mean, that might be beneficial for vasoconstriction of stuff, but
Yep.
yeah.
That's what I've heard too, is you want it kind of room temperature, not too hot, not too cold, because too cold, we know, causes vasoconstriction. Too hot almost opens everything up and you get this nice flush, but then your body sends inflammation back to the area.
Yeah.
So it has to be kind of in a neutral environment. That to me says clean your internal environment, like inside your nasal passage and your sinuses. I've also heard that it is helpful to wash your body and the rest of your external environment on a regular basis, right? Like taking showers daily, make sure there's nothing pollen and allergen wise on your skin, on your clothes, on your hair. Women especially, we usually don't wash our hair every single day. It's recommended that you don't. But in that time of year, at least getting in for a rinse, you don't have to be using like
Super.
harsh shampoos, but something that's going to just reset. And then everything else that you're exposed to on a regular basis in your environment, a lot of that's your bedding and your pillow,
That's right.
right? I mean, keeping the windows open in your house, things are going to be floating in. And we all do this in the spring because we're like, yay, it's finally open window season. And what comes floating in through the window is all those lovely
Juniper.
little juniper
And
particles.
grasses.
Yep. And so, of course, they land in invisible ways on top of everything. Right? And so cleaning that environment.
I mean, it always freaks me out because I've never lived in such a dusty place in my life. And I could dust my dresser off, and literally a week later, I can write my name in it.
Yeah.
So like you said, I'll just echo this again, is during, coming into allergy season, rinsing your body off. Just jump in the shower for 5 minutes. If you don't use all the, you don't have to use all the soaps and stuff. You got to get that stuff off your skin. And then the windows being open at night, I love it, but it's also really not a good strategy.
Yeah.
That specific, it's like so terrible because all I want to do is open my window.
No, it's
Cool spring night.
I don't think about it,
But
but that's a point for sure.
back to my original point is we really take extra caution that time of year to wash our sheets regularly. But of course, you're not using like Tide or anything. Using a good natural, even just baking soda. Take your sheets off, throw them in the wash with some baking soda, maybe a drop of essential oils, just to pull that pollen and dust out of your sheets. 1 time a week minimum will be really, really important, especially the pillowcase. And I mean, we could go down the road of pillows, but the pillowcase has to get washed regularly, especially if you're someone who suffers from allergies.
Totally.
And then on that topic in the bedroom is running a HEPA air filter. We just run ours 24/7. I literally never turn the thing off.
I know.
But during
Year round?
yeah, literally year round,
Yeah.
it just runs, and every bedroom in our house has one, and it just runs. But that time of year, changing the filters out, really, I mean, be persistent with it. Once a month would be the max. New filter, just keep that thing running in your room and keep it locked up.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I was at, I think this was around Christmas time. Ben does so many great little Christmas markets, and I love shopping for local made stuff. And so I was walking around, and one of the natural apothecaries in town was selling this honey that was infused with pine.
Oh,
And I
that's
talked
smart.
to this woman for probably 20 minutes about this. I was like, what's up with this? And she was like, and she started echoing a lot of these same principles. She's like, if you start exposing your body in these little micro ways to certain allergens, very, very, very micro exposure here, really far in advance, by the time you get to seasonal allergy season, your body won't recognize it as much of a foreign particle.
That's right.
So is there any truth to that?
Well, I believe so. And I mean, this is one of those things that some people swear by it. Other people are like, it never worked for me. The theory of it, and the reason that I mean, I would put my weight into it, is that you're in a region, but the key is you have to start early.
Mhm.
I mean, you have to start in February, March,
Mhm.
every day, a little bit into your coffee or tea, or just on a spoon, a little bit in your mouth. Because, like our environment gives us the tools that we need. We just need to know how to use those tools. So a bee that is here in Central Oregon is constantly exposed to all of those pollens.
Mhm.
And then that gets placed into the honey, and the honey has all these medicinal properties. That's another conversation. But if we can microdose or micro expose ourselves to it before allergy season, I mean, yes. The key is like, you can't wait until you're suffering with allergies to be like, I'm trying the honey. No, no, no. This is way on the front end. Like right now is the time, and only buy local, and it's got to be organic, unfiltered, unpasteurized. It has to have all those check marks.
Yeah.
And then, yes, and we have great local beekeepers here in
For
Bend.
sure. Okay, I'm gonna give a shout out to the People's Apothecary because that's who I bought it for, and I'm really glad that you're saying that because I bought a giant pot of that honey, and I've been putting it in my coffee every single morning. So stay tuned in a couple of months, and I'll report back.
Absolutely.
What else is there about honey, Dr. Andrew, that's so beneficial for the inflammatory system in the body?
Well, number one, it lasts forever.
Yeah, true. As long as you don't eat it really fast, like I'm doing. Coffee.
You're putting me on the spot here. I mean, my brain goes to, like it has the reason it lasts forever because bees have this thing called propolis in it. It's like a natural antifungal, antibacterial, antiviral property. This is just the way God made bees. It's the one food that like you can take out of the tombs in Egypt and still consume it. Like it does not go bad.
That is so crazy.
It's like
So cool.
the one food on planet Earth that does not go bad.
Yeah.
So this propolis that comes from bees and how they make their honey and the comb, there's a ton of medicinal properties to the propolis, which is one of them is that it's natural, antibacterial, fungal, microbial, and anti-inflammatory.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's where you were going.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's kind of like its own little miracle. It kinda you heard people say a panacea is something that kinda works well for everything. Honestly, honey works so well for so many different things.
Yeah.
Viruses, bacteria, fungi, just this magic anti-inflammatory thing that we're blessed to have a lot of access to in Central Oregon. So don't skip on your honey. Find a way to work it into your daily diet.
Get the right kind.
The right kind,
I love
and honestly, not too much of it either. It is still sugar, and so be aware of what effect that has on your body's natural metabolism too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
love it.
good.
Super smart. Essential oils. I wanted to take a quick little detour here. If you're dealing with allergies and you're super stuffed up, there are some essential oils that can help. The good ones are eucalyptus and peppermint, but use with caution. Like don't just like they are like I would say hot. Okay. So you can put them in a carrier oil, like fractionated coconut oil, and apply them topically, and you can also ingest those internally. What I like to do is if I'm stuffed up, I get some water boiling and I put 1 drop of peppermint and 1 drop of eucalyptus in it. And then as it's still steaming, you can inhale it and breathe it in. That does open up the pathways just to get some of the stuffiness to go away. So that's a little tip. And then another thing that I've started experimenting with, this is a personal story, is your liver is your organ in your body that cleanses your body. It's like the sponge that everything goes through and it filters and cleans your blood. And then it excretes all the bad stuff out of your body. I think most people know that. Like the liver is the second largest detox organ in the body, second only to the skin, which is where the toxins get expelled from, a lot of them. But I've really taken it on myself. I'm like, okay, and I've read some research on this. A lot of people who deal with allergies are actually dealing with a sluggish liver.
Hmm.
Why do people get sluggish liver? Because we're exposed to just constant toxins in our world. Like everything is like kind of toxic to the
Toxic.
body, like the
Yeah.
homes that we live in, the carpet, the air sometimes.
Mhm.
So the liver gets sluggish, and when the liver gets sluggish, it can't process these toxins, and then it slows down the histamine response or speeds the histamine response up, and then we get this exaggerated response to allergens. So on our protocol list, I think we even mentioned this, is that one thing you can do. Remember, this is like early. You can't just start doing this in May when you're having an allergy attack. On the front end, you can start taking liver support to help get the liver working better. Give the body what it needs, give the detox organs what they need. And a lot of times we start to see the allergy symptoms decrease. This will be last year I started taking a lot of liver support, and I had the best season of my life during the spring when it comes to my body's response. So, and I've just been persistent with it for the past 18 months. So we'll see how this year goes.
Yeah.
But I always tell folks like, hey, if you have some time and you want to be on the front end, support your liver.
Yeah, 100%. Our Pangea protocols, you guys, are these protocols that we've started to develop about a lot of the health concerns that we get asked about commonly. One of them, of course, is seasonal allergies. And one of those components that Dr. Andrew is talking about there is liver support in the form of supplementation, in the form of organ meats, like all the other ways that you can support your liver. There's brands that we like and there's brands that we use more commonly here in the office. So if you guys have questions about those, we can talk to you more about them in person, because there's no one thing, one size fits all, especially when it comes to supplements.
Right.
But the key there is supporting your body from the inside out and not waiting until the symptoms are already flaring up to start.
That is the key. That is
Yeah.
the message, is be on the front end
Okay.
of everything.
And then the last thing, well, one of the last things that I personally don't know as much about, so I don't want to put you on the spot again, Dr. Andrew, but how much do you know about castor oil packs?
You know, I probably not enough to like go deep down into this pathway.
Yeah.
Um, but there is a lot of people who use castor oil packs, especially like you can put them on the body. Basically, you're using castor oil, and it helps stimulate movement and the detox pathway.
Yep.
Dr. Ashley would probably be the best person to break that down.
Yeah.
Um, like castor oil has been around forever. There's this old saying one of my patients said, a spoonful of castor oil a day keeps the doctor away, or something.
Right.
It's just something that, but, once again, do your own research on that. I think Dr. Ashley would probably be the best to comment
Yeah,
on that,
definitely.
using it the right way. But it's certainly one of those things that you want to have in your home remedy kit, as a bottle of organic pasture oil. So I don't know, what's your insight on that?
I mean, most of it, like you said, is also through Dr. Ashley. One of the great things I love about our protocols is we basically did a mastermind, you guys, of all 5 of our doctor brains and pooled our collective knowledge, and that's where our protocols came from. And she had a lot to say on castor oil packs, especially when it comes to seasonal allergies. So her main points is that, of course, castor oil helps with, it's almost like a magnet, and it helps move things through the body when you apply it externally to wherever you're trying to target, but especially supporting digestion and, like you said, liver function and elimination. So it's not just enough to detox your body and have everything then floating around in the bloodstream. You also need to get rid of it. Otherwise, that inflammation then becomes systemic and it floats around. It never actually leaves.
Yep.
So castor oil is one of those great ways to actually support elimination of toxins from the body.
Love it.
And it helps lower histamine levels and helps that allergy symptom piece, the inflammation piece, actually come down. She said anywhere from like 3 to 7 times a week you can do when you're in the middle of an inflammation histamine.
And that's not
flare.
orally. That's
No, that's
topically.
externally, topically. That's for like when you're already feeling a lot of this stuff. more of like a maintenance level, maybe like once a week, maybe a couple times a week. I mean, a month. I'm sorry. Once a month or a couple times a month for a maintenance level. So
Great.
it really varies per person. And like Dr. Andrew said, do your research there because there's no one size fits all. But those remedies that have been around for the longest time and they're just completely made by the earth and natural, those are the ones that I probably trust the most.
For sure.
Yeah. Maybe a tone to wrap on here. I think I had this thought, you were saying something earlier. When it comes to anything inflammatory in the body, I always have to bring my mental space back to inflammation. Our reaction, our natural reaction to it is inflammation equals bad. Get rid of the inflammation. Inflammation is making me miserable. Like, how do I get myself out of this? But we have to remind ourselves that the body is smart and it doesn't do anything arbitrarily or on accident. A fever is uncomfortable, but it's exactly what your body might need in that moment. Inflammation is typically the response of your body with white blood cells, sending it to an area where it thinks it needs an immune response and it needs help. So if you find yourself in the position where you're in the middle of an allergy attack and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't breathe through my nose, I empathize with you and I feel where you're at. And at the same time, just remind yourself that's a smart reaction from your body. It's intelligent, it's trying to keep you alive.
Yeah. I always tell people, what is my body trying to tell me right now? That's such a valuable question to ask, no matter what's going on, whatever symptoms going on, is what is my body trying to tell myself? And then the follow up is now, what can I do to help my body express itself better? Right. Which is why I love chiropractic so much, because it's working with your innate system. And I have stories upon stories of people that have come in and said, "Hey, this is the first time since living in Central Oregon that I haven't taken any allergy medications." And I was asking, "What are you doing different?" And they go, "Well, I'm getting adjusted." "You're not doing anything else different?" "No, I'm getting adjusted." I go, "Exactly, because now your system's regulating better." So my prayer is always that if you're listening to this, that you can learn something from what we said. You're part of the Pangea family. And like Dr. Bree mentioned, we have all these amazing protocols that we've been working on with 5 doctors' brains and probably about 70 years of clinical experience. If you're someone who's like, yeah, I want to get my hands on that protocol, let us know. We'd love to share it with you. And we hope you have a wonderful spring with less allergies than maybe you've had in the past. And we feel confident that you're going to gain something from this conversation. So thank you, Dr. Bree.
Yeah, thank you. Yep. We will see you guys all soon. Stay tuned for more episodes from the Pangea Health Podcast on more of our protocols, more of the things that we know you guys have questions about. And if there's things you guys want to hear us talk about, tell us in person, send us a text. Any way you want to get a hold of us, we are pretty much open to talking about anything.
We'll go there.
In here. We'll go there. Yeah, stay tuned. More exciting stuff to come.